Hello, welcome to Exec On AI, the podcast by exec for exec working on AI. And today we have Yannick Tremblais from Groupe Rocher.
I'm glad to be with you to share my experience.
Thank you so much for being here, Yannick. I really appreciate it. So the best person to talk about yourself is you. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do and how confident you are with AI?
Yes, so I work for Groupe Rocher, so cosmetic brands and textile brands with Yves Rocher and Petit Bateau. I'm IT innovation manager.
Yeah.
That means I work for all brands and all teams from the field and the industry, the market, the IT team, everybody, and help them to understand the change of innovations and of course the change with AI.
Oh yeah, and it's a big challenge. It's also a big company, so we're talking about 15,000 employees.
Yes, 180 countries and with different culture, different style of company because we've got some textile with Petit Bateau and cosmetic with Yves Rocher and Arbonne. So it's completely different with the model, the domain, and it's very interesting to discuss with the different people.
And regarding your AI interests, what's your story with AI? What's your experience, personal experience with AI?
Firstly, at school, I start with late school with the CNAM Institute.
Okay.
And I learn about machine learning and I understand anything.
Okay, that's a good thing. We have hope.
That sounds very simple. I'm still a developer for the backend system, but so for the AI, it's differently. 3 years ago, interesting about GitHub Copilot tools to help people to understand the code.
Yeah.
It was the beginning, and some people from GitHub explained them what we can do, and it was very interesting for us. And I try it with Python code, for example. I never used it before, and you can do it quickly. But when ChatGPT started to grow in November 2022, my CIO and my manager at this period asked me, can you make some awareness time for people to understand what we can do with AI? Test anything, everything we can do. From video, from images, from text, and try it and awareness people, give them some information, acculturation about AI.
So the objective was to inspire people, get them to try stuff.
Because we are aware that some people use every day, but they don't talk about that. They are ashamed about using AI, and this is a private garden for them.
It's a different conversation.
Yes, exactly. And we know that, but a lot of people don't use it.
Yeah.
And we've got a lot of information. AI will kill your job. AI will transform your experience for the employees. So it's very important to understand what is it and what we can do with that. And it is important also for data scientists and data engineers because they work for a long time about AI and they said, I don't understand. Everybody can do that today, but it's my job. I'm the best experience and the best expert about it. So we said it's an evolution, not a revolution, but it's very important to understand what we can do with it.
Oh, absolutely. The power is so big and it's important to get the grasp of it. Like what can you do? What are the risks? But also the opportunities. So it's not all bad or risks.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So I'd love to know more a little bit about your project. Like how do you start an AI project? How do you define what is a good project? What are the processes that you're following?
So firstly, in 2023, we start with an AI oversight board to help people to understand what is the risk, especially the risk with the AI, because we don't let your house open for everybody. But with AI, you can put your private data, your personal data, with the tools like ChatGPT, without taking account about the risk of data leak. So it's very important to understand. So firstly, we give a framework to understand and ask some question about the usage of AI. And secondly, we want to be aligned between what is the use cases you want to deploy, you want to improve, and what is the value for the business and the value for the group. So it's very important to understand that because we are a mission-driven company. Our objective is to reconnect people to the nature. So we can't use AI everywhere for everything. When sometimes it's not necessary. So it's very important to be aligned between the business, the AI usage, and the roles and the rules for the group.
So you've been talking about values, you've been talking about the branding, you've been talking about the objectives as well.
Yes.
And all of that is part of a framework. How do you have the conversation with them?
So we ask people, for example, I want to deploy tools for translation, video translations, for training people everywhere in the world, for everywhere, in Italian, Spanish, from Mexico also. So I need to translate a video for people. So firstly, we ask people, what is the content of your video? Is it a private content or is it a public content? And depending on that, we ask them some question about the model, the how and where are stored the data, what is the consumptions of the data? Do you know the impact of it? Of course, between traveling in the world to make the training face-to-face and make a video with a good translations, we have a gap between them. So it's important to understand that. So we ask many questions for the people during the first sessions. And at the end, people are aware about that. And it's very important for the regulations also, depending on the different country. In Europe, we've got the AI Act, but in Canada or in USA, they've got another one, in China, another one. So it's very important that people, users, are aware about the different regulations. And when they finish the questionnaire, they have some issue probably to understand if for the video it's for private usage, probably agent will not be the right solution. So we help them to find another tools. Or if it's a good one, we can use it and we can share with other teams what we can do.
Okay, so the first thing is you have a project, we're going to challenge you if the project is respecting all the criteria that we have for a project.
Yes.
And then what happens? How do you inspire people?
Yes. So I'm talking about awareness. So I give them a lot of samples we can do with generative AI and with AI. During the presentations, I help to give them some focus about their usage and make an example for marketing team, for example, and probably Dr. Pierrico or Arbonne are interesting about it. So we share some video on the local communication tools. So we try to share that. And we create this year with a community, which is named AI Champions.
Love that.
A moment for them to share use cases and to be able to say, yes, I want to do that for the HR team, but probably the marketing team or communication team want to use it the same. So we share together some use cases and we try to improve them.
I love this vision of really separating the two aspects of first, you have a project, we have this AI oversight board that's going to help you do great impact and be contextualized as well. I know this is a word you've been using when you were talking about your project versus, well, you don't know what you want to do. We're going to help you do this impactful project.
Exactly.
And on this case, we have these champions that we've built. I love this vision. Maybe we can deep dive now a little bit more about what specific use cases have you built this year?
Yes. So when I said we start for the board and for the AI champions, but the most important things we did in 2024 is not to create new tools, a new private GPT, it become in 2025, but in 2024, we started with training people, how to train people with the tools, which named Mendo. They help to understand how to use a good prompt. Because at the end of 2022, they create a prompt or they create a chat, and they are not very happy with the results. Sometimes it's not so good one. So with the training tools, we help them to understand how to be better and have a right usage of this kind of tool. So it's on ChatGPT, but it works on Claude, it works on Perplexity, on other tools. So it's more about the method, about the way to produce this.
So just to be clear, it's like an agent that you will put on every employee's computer.
Yes.
And this agent will help them prompt better.
Exactly. It's a plugin directly on your browser. And you've got it on the right side of your browser.
Sweet.
And it said, firstly, ask a question to ChatGPT. And this is step by step, but it validates the response each time. And if you are a good one, you have got a new level to be better and better. And during last year, ChatGPT will improve new functionality like connected to internet, generated pictures, something like that. So we help them to improve their skills. And we can specialize for the marketing team or for the financial teams to understand a report, to analyze some text, summarize a document. So they improve their skills and they be better and better. And we made a small challenge between people.
Like competition?
Yeah, like competitions. It's these tools is like a gamification tools. So it's in the same way.
And how do you personalize it? Like, do you input your data? This is a tool you're buying from the market, like.
Mendo, it's a tool from the market, but based on ChatGPT, and public ChatGPT. And most free sessions, we've got some people, they said, yes, it's funny, we can use it, but I need to use with my private data from the financial department. And we are aware about that. We couldn't do a lot of things in the same time. So we said, be patient. We will provide you a private GPT. And what we want to do is connect.
Real life scenario.
Just 1 minute.
Sorry for that. This is live, guys.
We want to connect the Mendo tools with our private GPT. It will be a challenge for 2025. I don't know if we are able to do that, but it's very important for people, for users, for our colleagues to do that.
Oh, absolutely. Like having personalized data is going to make the difference.
Exactly.
For personalized results, of course. I'm just trying to understand. So basically, when you were saying I personalize Mendo to financial or to marketing, is based on the context that you are giving the tools?
Yes, the context. At the beginning, we ask you some questions. What is your department? What is your job? Why you need ChatGPT? So you've got many questions at the beginning of the tools. And after, depending on your profile, we can give you some different exercise and we can focus on it. Last year, we were not focused only on marketing, only on finance, on only T department. This is a job for this year. But we give them some keys to understand what we can do for the marketing, for analyze a document or produce a post on the social networks.
That's huge.
Analyze some reports, make some recommendations, something like that. We introduce, of course, the security way to say that be careful about the data, use some templates, some fake data to try that.
That's a great way to have a governance right away, like on the front line. What are the results that you've seen from that? Like, are people using more AI thanks to that, or what are the
We
results?
made a survey at the beginning. It was very important to identify because we do that with the HR team. And we made a survey at the beginning. What I said previously, it's people are not very happy or be impatient about the results. They said in 70%, when I use ChatGPT, it's not so good and I have bad result and I don't want to use it.
70%?
70% people said that.
Wow. When was that? 1 year ago?
1 year ago, yes. At the beginning of 2024, they said when you use it, because everybody use it like a search engine.
Yes.
And it's not a search engine.
It's not a search engine.
So they try that. And at the end, more than 80% said, yes, it's very good. And we can have some useful usage of ChatGPT.
What a
But the most important was the figure between the beginning. Less than 20% of the people, so it was 100 people for this survey, said yes, but we don't use it. I don't know what I can do with AI generative or day to day.
Yeah, it's the main challenge.
Yes,
I feel.
At the end of this year, so in September of October, there are more 80% people said yes, I use it day to day.
That's wow.
And the difference between the beginning of next year, we've got less than 100 people connected to Mendo. At the end, we've got 500 people connected to Mendo. We discover they have a growth of usage. Not all the 500 people use it day to day, but we understand that the value increase and the capability increase for people to understand what we can do with such tools.
That's amazing. Wow, thanks for sharing. I know you had another great case that I would love to hear more, which is related to NPS. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. When I said that engineer and data scientist worked on AI for a long time ago, that's the case in Yves Rocher. And what people said to me, okay, but AI, we are aware about it. We use it day to day. But every time it's very difficult to improve it and to pass the POC or the MVP value to a high project or large project. And with the visibility of a generative AI, they said, hey, we are here. We can help you to do that. And they improve what they did about survey done on the website, about the quality or NPS of the product, the claims for consumers. So they are a good way or forum for them to say that we are this kind of solutions. It's pure AI. It's not only generative AI, but we can use generative AI to produce some reports. And it was very fun. They used Google Cloud Solutions to do that. They collect a lot of data from the website, essentially from the website today. And they did it for a brand, for Yves Rocher France, if am I right? But you can deploy for other brands now, for Dr. Pierre or for the direction scientific, scientist directions teams also to do that.
Okay, then wow, that's inspiring.
Yes.
I mean, it's cool to see the evolution and the impact of the action that you're doing. I'm also wondering, you've been talking a lot about the privacy, the fact that you want to use your personal data as well to be able to have great insight. What action are you taking? Because I know you've been talking about a private cloud. What action did you take to make a good use of ChatGPT for your employees?
Yes. So for ChatGPT, we don't buy some license. We decided at the beginning, don't be locked to one solution. We've got the same discussion with Microsoft, with Copilot, with Google, with Gemini. We don't be too locked to only one solution. So we don't create a ChatGPT, private ChatGPT first, but we create a rack system connected to our sources, and we are using Azure OpenAI first.
Okay.
So we've got a guarantee from Microsoft that said we don't share the data, we don't use your data to train the model. Azure OpenAI, so it's like ChatGPT, but on a Microsoft Azure system.
Okay.
So it's like a copy, if I make a shortcut, but in a secure way, so we are sure that our data are not shared with everybody to train the model and not leak on the dark web or everywhere.
Okay.
This is the first part, and we've got the same behavior or same solutions with Google. They provide some models with Gemini, but also with Mistral or so on. So we used model provided by Google, and I know Amazon do the same. So it's a good way to use in a secure way such LLM. So
absolutely.
If you want, because every day we've got a new model, every day you've got some new features. So it's crazy to follow that. So it's a good way to switch at a moment and say that, well, okay, we don't use, we did that last year. We don't fix only on ChatGPT 4. We used ChatGPT 4 O and probably O mini and perhaps Mistral another way, depending of user usage.
Okay, no, that's a great insight. Like for people who wants to use private data and are afraid of, that's great
I think it's the best way. We discovered some tools, safebrains.ai. It's a small company, and they push their solutions to provide a chatbot. When I say private model, it's Llama or on your own or someone of Microsoft or Google.
Okay, cool. And so basically when you want to launch a new project and you want to make sure that it's secure, it's safe, it's okay for your employees to use, what are the prerequisites that you are checking and making sure that everything is secure there?
One point is with no data, no AI.
That's for sure. That's the base.
With no good data. So when I said we create a rack system, firstly, we've got some funny questions. What is the opening hour for the cafeteria?
In the chat?
Yes, the chat first test people do. What is the organigram of the people?
Okay.
And of
some
course,
pragmatic stuff people need actually.
Yes, of course, the result was not so good. So they said your bot is very bad. We don't want to use it. And what we discover, the data is not up to date or are not in the right bucket or
format,
space. Yes, the right format. So we need to work about the data. We've got a lot of job about the marketing data, CRM data. We've got good data and they are improve the result. For the NPS, for example, they worked a lot of it, but we don't work enough about the documents, about the PowerPoint. A lot of people provide some PowerPoint like specifications.
Okay.
If you're a developer working on only a PowerPoint, it's very difficult. So we need to improve the data. And what we need at the beginning of the project, have you got the data for it? Have you a governance about the data? And do you know how we can exploit them or how we can do that?
And so what step did you take on that part? Because it's a huge project, like unifying the data, cleaning the data.
Step by step.
What were the priority for you?
The value of the project. Is it for win time? Is it for win money? Is it to improve the team because you've got some change on your teams and you need to improve the facilities or the functionalities about that? So it's very important to make a link between the use cases, the value for the team, and of course, the budget for the investment. And when I said step by step, we don't invest a lot of money for this one. So we tried with some small teams, small objective, to be sure that it will be aligned with the different value and we can scale up the result. Because what is difficult with the AI project, it's not the POC, it's always easy to do a POC or MVP. It's very difficult to have a scale up about it.
Okay, so when you say small, is it small amount of data or?
Yeah, no, small time to do that. So of course, small money to invest for this. We used some functionality we've got in our systems. Probably Salesforce, you use Salesforce, probably Salesforce can help us do that.
Yeah.
And if we not need to invest some to develop, we are looking what startup or scale up can help us do that. Or we do ourselves, we do, the solutions, but we did it in a short time. So 3 months, if we can. For the rack system, it was more longer. We take 6 months. We start in April. In June, we deploy it for the IT team.
Okay.
In September, we enlarge the people and we give it the access for the other people in the group. So we did step by step and we validate the value of the investment we did for this project, for these solutions, versus the impact for people and the investment for the people to use it.
Sorry, when you say rack project, can you define that?
Yes. Retrieval augmented generations. That means It's a shortcut. You've got your sources, document sources, SharePoint, for example, and you have got a large language model. So you mixed the value of the two solutions, and you provide with a chatbot some response of your data, of your sources, of your documents. We're talking about retrieval augmented generations. Or generative, sorry. That one first use case is because a lot of people said, I don't know where to retrieve information. I don't know if, I want to retrieve the financial part of a team or the rules for the travelers or something like that. They said, yes, we've got many SharePoint, we've got many sources, many websites, but I don't know how to retrieve that.
What's the source of truth, basically?
Exactly. The single source of truth.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm really curious because data is so core to having good AI usage. From your experience, what have you seen as the biggest impact working on your data? Like, what is the must thing to do for any company wanted to work on their data?
When you're talking about small volume of data, it's one point. We don't embrace all the data of a system because it's very difficult to understand if you are good or not. And sometimes with AI, you can have some hallucination for the results. You can estimate a result, is it false? So it's important to have some small value and make a mechanism. We don't do that for the moment. For the NPS, it did that. But make mechanism to validate the result. Because the model evaluates each time. I said every day you've got a new model, but
it's so true.
So you need to have some way to validate the result and say if it's correct or not, and evaluate. And the most important things, I think, for using AI or generative AI, fact-checking the value, fact-checking the result. Because you can sometimes, with hallucinations, you think the result is true and it's totally false. So it's very important to have a new way to understand. It's not a search engine. You can produce some results that are bad results.
So maybe forehand, is there like a cleaning work that you need to do on your database? Is there like unification of all your data?
I can give you an example. We did it this afternoon. The team of Polyconseil who developed our RAG system, which is an Alivia, a good name.
Now I know what is a RAG system.
Yes, a RAG system. They came and they said, we've got a lot of information about the marketing trends for our team. What is the marketing trends in China, in Asia, or in Europe? And we've got a lot of resources, but old resources. Some documents are produced in 80. So this is not the trends for today, but they keep the value because it's important to understand the trends and how the trends evaluate.
Exactly, the evolution.
But when you use a RAG system, what sometimes you need only the fresh information. So you need the information for this year. So they decided with the teams, with business teams, yes, we need to find a way to isolate this document. We need it, but it's like an archive document or and define some process. So firstly, we indexed all documents and we said, yes, this is not fresh data. We need to update that. We need to find a way. And you can do that step by step on during experiment the solutions.
Yeah, amazing. I'm going to jump into another topic that is super important for me and for you as well. I know that because we've been talking about this. As an IT innovation manager and as someone working on AI, how do you balance innovation and good AI practices, that are responsible and ethical?
And sustainability.
And sustainable.
Yes, at the beginning of the story, I say I'm crazy. It's not possible to talk about AI, using AI, and talking about digital sustainability. We know the impact of the digital assets, especially for the device. And we know that AI use a lot of device, a lot of graphic card. So it's very difficult. But people said me, you are in the right place to help people to understand the impact and use AI in the right way. And we need to have a balance when I'm talking, make a lot of travel for shooting photo for the marketing team. Perhaps it's better to use an AI during a short time to avoid the travel and to avoid this kind of usage. So it's about sensibilizations and information and awareness, again, about the impact. And another point is said, we don't want to be locked with only one model, which be huge and huge. GPT is one, a big consumer of graphic card and so on. So perhaps you can use some small model. We've got it in France. We've got Croissant LLM, did by Irwin and Paris-Saclay. So we've got some small model and perhaps we can use it. We've got it with the Llama, of course. So I am in the right place to help people to understand the impact and to say we can use it. Because we can't say that we will never use the AI. It's helpful, it transforms everybody. And the rules we define for Europe are not the same for the US country or for the Asian country. So we need to use it, but we need to use it in the right place and the right moment for the right usage.
Absolutely. So I'm hearing training people is one thing.
Yes.
The second thing, you've been talking about choosing the right LLM, the right model for the right usage.
Before that, training people, understand the use cases, understand use cases.
Yeah.
Of course, after choosing the right models for the right usage, we're talking about FinOps. FinOps is how to evaluate the financial impact of usage of IT part, but we've got AI ops also. We need to follow the financial part of the AI.
Yeah.
Because when you make a MVP or POC, probably the cost is not very important, but if you try it or use it for a lot of people, it can be too much to follow the usage, and you need to monitor the usage. And of course, if you've got sometimes, when I'm talking about monitoring, when I said at the beginning, people make some prompt and they don't have the good result.
Yes.
Probably the problem is not the people who write the prompt. Probably is not the quality of the LLM. We said probably the quality is about the data not available.
Okay.
And if you don't monitor it, you can improve the result, and you can change the value of the data.
Yeah, and also what's interesting about measuring is that you have so many things you can measure. At some point we were talking about measuring or testing at least the ethic of a tool. So you were challenging, is the tool allowing me to test the ethic or the result, the bias? So we can test that. We can test as well the usage of the consumption of energy. Like you're challenging your cloud providers, right, about that?
Yes, we challenge the cloud provider about that because we've got that. We monitor for a long time since we are on the cloud system. So we monitor the carbon footprint about our consumptions, and we do reduce it. So the IT part is not so important for the Group Rocher. The CO2 equivalent CO2 consumptions. Okay. It's not so important because we've got some industry, we've got some transport between sites. We are retailers, so we've got a lot of shop. So the IT part is not so important, but it's a part of the consumption. So we need to follow it, and we need to reduce it. And so we ask the cloud provider, is it possible to have for the usage of AI? Because today we've got the usage of machine, of server, of the data store, about the network, but we have not a good detail about the AI. So we ask them if it's possible to have that. And if they are not able, we've got a lot of teams who can help us. We discovered last year EcoLLM, a company in France, and they can help to understand based on mathematics evaluations they are, because nobody are transparent about the consumption. So they can help people to understand the usage based on the prompt, based on the number of tokens, so number of words you use for the prompt and for the result, and help you to understand, and again, make an awareness for the users about that.
So they're also checking if you need to renew your servers, how much data you're storing, all these kind of questions, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so
But there are a lot of things to do in the same time, so step by step, and we are confident for the next step.
That's super inspiring. Thank you so much for sharing all this insight. Maybe just to close up this episode today, because I would love to ask you so many more questions, but we have a limited time. What would be your advice for people listening to us today? So it's executives working on AI, they're launching maybe their first project, or like they don't know where to start. What would be?
Yes. One point is we're the CEO of the group and my CIO help us to deploy the AI solutions, and the HR teams also, because there are a big change for people for the job. All jobs are involved by AI. Okay. And so it's very important to be close with them to understand how we can help people to understand the change and what is the value for the company or for the group. It's important to have a sponsorship with these people and identify your champions, because all companies have got some champions and people want to change their job and to evaluate. So there are good sponsors also in the team. So it's very important to have that.
It's also relying on people on the ground,
Yes. One point we observed, it's not only a technical point of view, it's a human point of view, and we need to help everybody and to understand the change. And we cannot say that let the AI on this side, we are not concerned about that, and we will see later. No, it's come very quickly, and the new generations, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, will push them, will push us about that.
It kind of relates to what you were saying when you were talking. Other people, other team can launch project. They just need to tell us, like tell you,
exactly.
Your department, and you won't block them, but you need to know so you're able to support them. So it's a lot about connecting people.
Exactly, and share your experience, share your use cases, share your usage, because it's very interesting for people, and it valorizes their experience, their skills. They can express that, and they can share with the other, with different cultures. So it's very interesting.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Yannick. That was so inspiring.
Thanks, Nabila.